So staying on the tuba track, you've had a lot of teachers. Could you talk about who inspires you as a tuba player and as a teacher, and how they influence either your playing or your teaching?
Well, I am inspired by my own teachers. I studied with Ross Walter in my undergrad degree. He's actually primarily a euphonium player, but um, probably the person who I most like musically and as a teacher is him. I studied with Toby Hanks for my master's, and when Toby retired, then for my artist diploma that last year, I studied with Mike Roylance. So those two gentlemen are different in terms of playing and where they were in their career, but actually probably remarkably similar to each other in the way that they teach and kind of just prioritize music in everything, including orchestra music, and also similar to, I would say, similar to Ross Walter as well. And then for my doctorate, I studied with Mike Bunn, who was the principal tuba in the Kennedy Center Opera House for many years, and then I also studied with Andrew Hitz during that time. So also just, yeah, two very different people. And I take a lot of inspiration from all of those people. In terms of like tuba playing and tuba sound, I mean, I'm really inspired by a lot of, Mike Bunn is actually somebody who comes to mind as just like, he had this, this sound that was just as big as a house, and just like you just wanted to live inside that sound. Like in terms of just like pure tuba sound, he had one of the most impressive sounds that I've ever heard. Just for the actual tone quality of it. And then in terms of music, I mean, I'm very inspired by the people who are out here like making music right now. We had Oystein Bodsvik come out here as a guest a couple of years ago. So he's probably the person that I think of most in terms of like singing through the tuba. But the thing that I think is most inspirational about him is just the uniqueness of his voice. So what I'm really inspired by are people who have a unique voice on the tuba. So like, Howard Johnson is a good example of that. And there are a lot of people that I'm really inspired by who don't play tuba. So one of the main people that I'm inspired by is the sound of Leontine Price, who's a soprano. She is still a soprano, but she's not currently performing a ton. But that's like, again, just in terms of like pure sound, throw on a recording of her singing Aida, and like that's all you need to know about resonance. So a lot of times I'm kind of aiming for something that is unique and that is my own voice, and that's what I admire in other people as well.
Awesome. And kind of hopping off that you're talking about learning from a euphonium player, is there things you think tuba players can learn that euphonium players specifically excel at, or that like maybe young tuba players could listen to like professional euphonium players and glean from them?
Definitely. I mean, musically, you can listen to almost anybody and gain something from it. But specifically, I think that the thing euphonium players often do really well that tuba players do not is vibrato. And for euphonium, it's just kind of, it needs to be baked into the sound. And for tuba, sometimes we don't come to that soloistic sound until later. At maybe college or even later for some people. So that type of soloistic sound, like if we're honest about the tuba repertoire, a lot of the time we're playing F tuba and we're playing in the range of the euphonium. So we are really not that different. But that sort of effortless vibrato and sound, sort of singing style sound that is necessary for the euphonium is really beautiful. And the tuba is going to maybe oscillate at a slightly lower frequency, but I think you can still take a lot of inspiration just on that, from that solo sound from great euphonium players.